Hey everybody, Eric Dorward here with the Spartan Rocketry Club, beginning a new build. This time I am going to be building another kit from Rocketarium. It is the AIM-54 Phoenix, which is a scale model of a an air-to-air missile. I picked this one for a variety of reasons, not least of which was this was one that my dad built back when I was a kid, and I thought it was the coolest looking thing that he had. It wasn't this particular model. It was an Estes kit, I believe, but I always thought it was really great. So now it's time for me to build one. So, nice thing about Rocketarium here is everything comes in a box, which I've emptied, but it's better than, it's more stable than trying to use a bag. Things are less likely to get squished. In fact, they did a very thoughtful job of packaging it. I couldn't find any of the fins until I went looking inside of the body tube, where they all happen to be stored nice and safely, extra well protected. Anyway, instructions. This might be positive or negative. It depends on you. They're much more verbose than Estes ones. There's a lot of language. There's a lot of detail. The pictures are color, which is nice, but there aren't that many of them. That we'll come back to. There aren't a whole lot, so you're going to have to carefully read when you do this. Other nice thing is that the tubes tend to be marked for you already. We'll see if that's the case here. Anyway, one other little somewhat unusual bit is that most of these kits come in modular chunks. So, like, this is my motor mount. It comes in its own little bag. So all the pieces are nicely isolated from everything else, so you're not going to misplace them. If there's a downside to this, it's that the modular part has its own set of instructions. So the motor mount instructions are right here. They're not in the main instructions, but no big deal. All right, so let's get started. I am going to need my ruler, and I am going to need a pencil in order to make some marks. That's a paintbrush. There we go. That's a pencil. All right, so first thing I'm going to do is, it says place a ring of glue 3/4 of the way inside any end of the tube. Okay, that's going to be the forward. And then I'm going to push from the other direction, so I'm putting this in first. Need to get some glue, obviously. And I'm going to, do I need to actually measure this out? Probably not, because I'm going to be pushing through the glue anyway. Okay. But I previously marked on my dowel, and it looks like, yeah, this is a 3/4 inch mark. So reusing my materials actually saves me some trouble. It would be better to go too far into this than too shallow. All right, so the glue's on this end. I'm pushing the engine block from the other end, and I'm going to use the yellow spacer here until it's flush with the aft end. So, like so. Of course, I don't want to leave that in there. All right, so that takes care of that. Phase 1 complete. I'm also supposed to put a 3/4 inch mark from the aft end of the tube. Oh, I can certainly do that. Get that out of the way. Actually, I'm going to turn this over. Yeah. Oh, actually, sorry, this is the wrong direction. Aft end. This would be the aft end. That's where the fire is going to come out. So that's my mark at the aft end, 3/4 from it. Cut a slit at 2 3/4 inches from the aft end of the motor tube. This is, now I've had some trouble with this before for whatever reason. The point where I should be cutting is right here. But what I really care about is I want to put it just past the engine block. So this right here is in the engine block. So that's no good. I'm going to actually cut a little bit past that. There. And looking through, yeah, that's just about perfect. All right. The engine clip's going to go in there. It should be approximately 1/8 of an inch in front of the motor block, so that the tab rests on the motor block. That's great. Do not cut the motor block. That's a problem I've had before with these. Okay, that's delightful. Now I'm going to put this locking ring, and I'm supposed to put it 3/4 from the aft end. Well, that's where I drew that mark, so that's why we put that there. Glue goes on. Use a little more. There we go. This is actually a pretty loose fit for whatever reason. This is really just to hold the engine hook in place more than anything else. All right, so that's great. The last things we need to do are then put the these two centering rings in place. Now, the aft one is supposed to go 1/4 of an inch from the end, which is, I wish I had measured this first. I'm going to move it up here. So 1/4 of an inch is right there. The other one I don't actually need to measure because it's just going to stop right there. Yeah, right at the engine hook. This one, on the other hand, not the case. Okay. Now, I'm going to put a little bit of glue to hold these things in place. Actually, I think I'm going to take this off entirely. It's always good to test fit, but that was actually going to get in my way more than anything else. Okay. Well, it goes, no, by the way, notice there's a little notch there. That's going to line up with the clip. It's not going to go over it necessarily, maybe just a slight bit, but that's how I know which one I'm supposed to be using here. And then there's my 1/4 inch mark. All right. We'll shift this back. And we pushed quite a bit of glue forward. All right, that looks reasonably good. But before I wrap things up with this particular part of the build, I'm going to put, ooh, that moved quite a bit. You know what? I'm actually going to let this sit. Let the glue tack quite a bit before I mess with it any further. So that's going to go over here so I don't bump into it. I'm definitely going to put fillets on, maybe in this particular video. Probably not, but we'll see. All right, moving on. The next bit of the instructions actually talks about how to install this into the tube, but I'm going to skip that for the time being and come back to it. What I'm going to do next is go after this separate little thing here. This is a baffle, and this is one of the cooler features of Rocketarium kits. Not everyone has it. For instance, the Mega Rebel that I built in the previous video does not have this. I don't recall if there's one in the Trident cluster that we built or not. I have to go back and look. However, the purpose of this is so that we don't actually need wadding to protect the parachute. So the idea here is that these are going to go on different ends. The hot gas can go in one, but they don't line up, right? Like so. So the hot gases, well, the gases are going to go through. They're hot. They don't have enough heat to actually melt the chute. It's the little bits of debris, little flaming bits of gunpowder that are the problem. So this will protect against that. All right, so again, the instructions are separate from the main instructions. That's fine. I want to find the baffle plate with a small hole in the center. That would be this one. First thing I need to do is I'm going to make what is essentially a pilot hole here by screwing the eye hook. And by the way, this is the anchor point for the recovery system for the shock cord. All right, so screw an in to the plate, unscrew, and then squirt some glue in the hole. Yeah, so I don't really know how well wood glue, what kind of difference it really makes, but this is not a place for crazy glue to set too quickly. So the wood glue will do something. How much? Don't know. All right, so anyway, do not screw it in too far. You need to see the screw threads on both sides of the plate. At least 1/8 of an inch of the thread should be on the back side, set aside and let dry. All right. So I think I'm going to put it in about halfway. That looks pretty good. I'm actually going to put a little dab of glue here, just around. This side is pretty good, but it could stand a little bit more. If I really wanted to be thorough here, a dab of CA glue would not be a terrible idea either. All right. Next, I want to place a thick ring of glue inside one of the ends of the coupler. That's the blue. Is that blue? Whatever color that is. That's the coupler. Take the other bulk plate, the one without the screw in it, and I want to glue it 1/16 of an inch inside of the coupler. The outside surface of the plate should be 1/16 inch deep inside the coupler. Okay, so are we actually going to measure that? No. All we really need to see is like the slightest bit of daylight. So even that might be too much. The reason here is I want to be able to put a fillet around that. All right, so I'm going to put some glue here, and it said a thick ring, so I'm going to spread this out with my dowel after I get it in place. Okay. And this goes, and I'm going to use put my finger through the other side here to just carefully have it stop where I want it to. I would like it to be perpendicular. It is not at present. Kind of adjust things a little bit. That looks pretty good. All right, so apply a glue fillet where the plate and the coupler meet. That will be on the outside. Remove excess glue and let it dry. Okay. Again, this is the entire purpose of why we were putting this thing not flush with the edge of the coupler, because if we did that, I mean, you could apply a fillet, but you'd have to do it to the back side, which would be inconvenient at best. All right. That looks pretty good. All right. So this is, it wants us to let this dry, but I don't think I'm going to really worry about that too much. The last thing I need to do is to put the other side with the eye hook in the other side of this. Okay, and again, I'm going to put it 1/16 of an inch deep, and hopefully, if I've done this right, I won't need to worry because the instructions want me to push it in past where I want it to go and then bring it back up. And then by doing that, I should create a fillet. And if I don't, well, that's fine. I can always just make another one. So same deal to this side. I'm going to do my very best not to bump the other side since the glue is not set. And I am kind of disregarding parts of the instructions here for the sake of time more than anything. Now, if you have all the time in the world, then by all means, take the time. All right, so again, this says I'm going to push it in, I'm going to straighten it up, and then I'm going to gently twist it out so that it's about 1/16 of an inch. There we go. it's in. And it says to twist. And that looks pretty good. I did not get much glue there. So I'm going to put a fillet. The instructions do caution me about not blocking off any of these holes. That would be sage advice. Because, of course, this is not supposed to block the airflow. The airflow is still supposed to be able to go through this, because that's what's going to eject the chute. What's not supposed to go through, again, is hot debris. And this is actually pretty effective. Now, all that being said, I have another kit. First one I actually got from Rocketarium that has the same design here. And I will admit, I still put wadding in, but instead of like a kit this size would need, I don't know, like 6 pieces of wadding paper, if that's what you were going to use. I just put 1. All right, so I did get a decent amount of glue into these holes. So I'm going to use, this is the glue applicator that came with it. I'm going to kind of brush the glue out. And this is actually working really well. I'm rather pleased with it. The way I created the fillet, all the glue basically ended up in the like 7 o'clock position in each of the holes. So that was fairly easy to deal with. All right, coupler's done. I'm going to apply fillets here to my motor mount, since the glue has at least tacked. It's not set, but I've made good progress toward that goal. Oops. So I'm going to put a glue ring around each of the joints. Gently, of course, because I do not want to misalign them at this point. I really do need to clean the nozzle to this glue bottle too, because while I am appreciative that the glue isn't just flowing like crazy, it's also not really flowing as consistently as I like. Oops. And I definitely did bump this. I suspect that after I smooth all these fillets out, I'm going to have to go back and double check to make sure that I didn't jostle things too much. Fortunately, that's not a big deal. The glue is, like I said, it's tacked, but it's not set. So you could see that I didn't have any real trouble adjusting the one side that was not particularly aligned. Okay, having a look. That one looks pretty perpendicular. That one is a little bit off. That looks pretty good. It's not perfect, but it's not that bad either. Down a little bit. Okay. All right, good enough. All right, so that takes care of the 2 like sub-assemblies that needed to be done. In the next video, I guess the next thing to do would be install the motor mount and then install all this stuff really, and then we'll get the nose cone. All right, thanks for watching. I will see you in part 2 whenever that comes around. See you then.